Ladies and gentlemen, Ed Tatro is going to introduce Judith Very Baker.
Are we ready? Yes. Here's a woman who needs no introduction. No, all right. I'll throw one thing out. First of all, I've been communicating with Judith since 2002, the year before the programs were on TV. And there are two things I will mention briefly. One, she had no idea that I was going to be in one of the programs. She was always talking about her program. And then we would talk about.
Why did I do that? Why did I talk about my program?
Well, that's all you knew.
Yeah.
It was the love affair. I knew all about you were going to be. I was recruiting people for the Smoking Guns and the Guilty Men. I was on the verge of finding you, but I think it was Hemming who found you first.
Yeah, Jerry. Well,
and I was in contact with Hemming too. But at any rate, the point was, the one thing I want to mention is, I think it was like the night before they were going to be on TV, and I sent her an email saying, make sure you watch the third one. Because she didn't know I was going to be on the third one. Nigel came all the way across the ocean to show me the 3 programs before he went to the History Channel. He wanted to see what I thought. And I watched the 3 of them right in a row, and I got up and I hugged them. I would just mention one thing. What made me go find her in 2002, and I'm always saying, I've focused most of my energy and attention on the Texas access of this case. So I'm not in a position to analyze, evaluate, or vet everything that she has said and done. It's not my place. I'm not qualified. But the one thing she said that I had learned before she was on television was, Oswald, I think it was 38 hours before, supposedly in private to her, said, whatever happens, never forget 3 names: Bobby Baker, Billy Celestes, and David Atlee Phillips. And I know a ton about those 3 creeps. In fact, Billy and I were sort of friends, okay? I've been to his home, and I knew those 3 were guilty. So I was saying, if that's true, whoa, it's a game changer. So that's the important thing. And by the way, when I went to, I'll tell 2 quick things about Billy Saul. When I went into Billy Saul's house, he had a little chihuahua on his lap. Come over here, I'll eat your face. And I said, Billy, what's the dog's name? He said, Lady Bird. And I had been there about a half an hour, and the doorbell rang. And a guy comes, his daughter opened the door, and this guy stepped in looking for directions to somewhere. Bullshit. That's like the guy that wanted my name and address because I was going to write a book. And later on, you find out they were watching him all the time. So that was another file for me. Anyway, Judith Very Baker.
Hello? Hi, everybody. Love you. I do. Love is the point. You know, we're talking about a lot of hatred, a lot of evil, a lot of nastiness. And so last night we brought in a play showing the lighter side of evil. I was so naive. Can you hear me? Am I coming? Is it coming through? Okay. I am overwhelmed by the kindness of everybody that have been expressing. It isn't easy to get up here. I wish I had a different face, you know. And the hotel didn't wake me up. They were supposed to wake me up at 3:30 in the morning, and I woke up at 7:30. This is what I look like. This is my shirt. Look at the shirt, because no matter what I will say, they will say the opposite. So I'm going to say Operation Northwoods is wonderful, you know. CIA is fantastic. FBI, they're my best friends, because they're going to report the opposite. So maybe they'll say that everything I'm saying, it's the opposite, is true. My friends, we live in a time where no matter what you hear, you don't know what you're going to believe. And there's 5 minutes from now, something may come out in the news and say I'm a really bad person. And I won't be told. I tried to get on Facebook this morning to tell them what was going on. And where is my friend, Carol? Carol, where are you? Can you stand up for a second? Carol, was I able to get on my own Facebook page this morning? Can you hear what she said? Couldn't get on my own Facebook page. And my computer beeped a few times. That means I was getting attacks on my computer because I have it set up like that. And but I'm here. God is stronger than anything. Now, for all of you who are atheists, have mercy on me, because I used to be an atheist, so I know your viewpoint. Please don't gag and throw vomit, okay? What I've got. All right, now we're going to talk about Lee's secrets. The other thing I need is Don to come close, because I have a vision problem, and if Don doesn't come close and show me the time, I'll go over. Okay, please do, because if you don't shake, right in front of my face. Judith, get off the stage. It's Ed's turn. Come on, Ed. In fact, Ed, you want it now? Okay, let's start with happy birthday. Lee's happy birthday. Ruth Payne. Can we move that screen? I cannot move it. Where are you? Where's my helper? What are you doing back there? Come on, Jim. Jim said, I'm going to be there to move things for you. Oh, okay, but I can't see the screen from here, so I need your help. Oh, I can see that, yeah. So I can move this. Okay. All right, happy birthday. So we order a birthday cake for Lee's birthday party, and one of it, and we get the rest photo where he's all beat up, okay? I put that on there. And the picture that you've been given of Lee doesn't include something like this. The Scarlet Pimpernel. How many of you know about, if you've read my book, what the Scarlet Pimpernel meant to Lee Oswald? Raise your hand if you know. Grover remembers. What, Grover? Can you come here just for a second? Okay. But anyway, the Scarlet Pimpernel, I'm going to show you in a minute, is one of the secrets of Lee Oswald's success. Lee was a very intelligent person. Do you think I would be interested in an idiot? I mean, this guy was smart. But he was smart in different ways. There are all kinds of different smarts. Some of us are very practical. Me, they could, if I were CIA, I'm giving you disinformation, why they choose somebody that gets lost in their own high school? I mean, I can't find my way out of a paper bag. I can't recognize faces very well. It saved my life, really. People, I love you. You walk up to me and say, who are you? Oh, this is the 7th time I've been to your conference and you can't remember me? It's awful. I have a terrible disability. And in defense of myself, they did a scan on my brain because I'm supposed to get an operation. I can't do it because my brain is too big. So it's not Alzheimer's that's talking to you. I hope it's not pride or ego or anything like that. Lee Oswald had to pretend to be what he was not, just like the Scarlet Pimpernel. And he got that idea from the Scarlet Pimpernel. The Scarlet Pimpernel was really running what was called the League of the Scarlet Pimpernel. And they were using all kinds of disguises. And when they were doing that, they were saving, and of course this is a fiction story, they were saving some of the aristocrats who were good people, who the French, they wanted to just chop all their heads off. Sort of like the Chinese went and killed every intellectual they could during their Great Leap Forward, which was Great Leap Backward, okay? Now, I've talked to some of you, you might remember, in New Orleans. How many of you were in New Orleans last time? All right. Now, you remember I showed you a little red book. Lee said he had his own little red book, not like Mao had, like Chinese, he had his own little red book, and that little red book was a Christmas story. And that Christmas story, because some people say, was it that Lee Oswald who's raised in New Orleans where there was a lot of prejudice. In fact, they were demonstrating, Woolworths there and everything. And they had sit-ins. The KKK was popular and powerful. The Dallas police, over just this whole area, Dallas police wore KKK emblems, on their jackets. You have all this going on. How is it that Lee Oswald said, Judy, let's sit in the back of the Judith, really, he said, what? We're going to sit in the back of the bus. I said, and my being 19, I said, won't we get in trouble if we sit in the back of the bus? Oh, he said, let's do it. Let's get in trouble. Let's get in trouble. And then he told me about his feelings that with this little red book, when his mother took it out when they were in Dallas. And he was quite young at that time. He was living with his mom and all that. And she read it one Christmas, and he never forgot it because it was a story of the Signati. This is in Serbia, a story about Christmas in Serbia. And here's how it went. You have this little boy, there was a horrible hurricane or something that went through there, and this village everything was just devastated. And they found this little gypsy boy, and he was blind, and he was dark-skinned. And they knew he was cursed because of his dark skin, because he was of the Signani, the Egyptians who had stopped the Holy Family from getting food and shelter when they fled to Egypt, and that was the story. So they hated the gypsies. Here's this little poor, blind, just maybe 3 years old. And this family took him in, but they wouldn't take him to midnight mass, they wouldn't take him to church, anything like that. You know why? Because he was cursed. He was of the wrong skin color. And Lee said, we had been talking, I said, what were the bad things you did when you were a kid? And we both found out we stole comic books when we were a kid, I know now that shopkeeper had to know that I wasn't that good. I only cook a couple, but I'm mentioning this because today a shop owner would probably turn in a 12-year-old, who steals a comic book. But they were much more nicer to kids back then. They were nicer to children. Today a 6-year-old can go in handcuffs to the police station. It's a shame. It's wrong. We need to have more flexibility and kindness. Anyway, so here we have, Lee is telling me that, what else did you do bad? Well, he said, once I defaced a book. Lee Oswald is the last person in the world that would deface a book. So I was interested. So then he told me about this little red book, and he said that's what changed his life. See, I'm telling you secrets nobody knows. Now, some of the people in New Orleans, I was able to read that book to them. Now, the book had different parts where like circled and then big X's. And wherever the big X's were in this book that Lee had written in this library book called This is the Christmas, in all those spots it was about how cruel they had been to this little blind boy because of his skin color and who he was, that he was despised race. And it's really, actually we have found other notes that Lee's made, their same handwriting, only this is more childish. Because he took that book out again when he came back to Dallas-Fort Worth. I have found people that said, yes, we used to go to the library in Dallas, even though he was living in Fort Worth, because that was the only decent library in the area. Where they could find X-band books and things like that as teenagers, and they could actually look at them. So Lee, yes, took a bus several times, and he wanted to see, at Christmas time, he wanted to see this, he was recruited. He was recruited from Texas. He wasn't recruited from New Orleans. So here he is, and he wanted to see the book again. That's when he did the cross-outs in it and everything like that. All right, so I went to the Dallas Library. I'm hoping, this is many years later. This is 2007. And I want to go so much that just before I had to save myself, and had a lot of bad things happen in 2007, and I had to go and live in exile. And I've lived in Sweden ever since, in and out of Sweden, moving every 90 days since 2007 until this year they're going to let me stay. We think they will. So I'm happy about that. I won't have to move every 90 days in and out of the EU. And maybe I'll finally be able to get a cell phone. I'll finally be able to get medicine in the system instead of going to all my doctor friends for medicine and so on, because I'm out of the system. So here's Lee, and I'm thinking, I wonder if that book is still there. I found it. This is the Christmas. I open it, and there it is, stamped in there, November 23rd, 1943, when the book, or 30, or whatever it was, when the book was, and it was stamped all over the place in the book, this stamp of when it came into the library. It was just lovely, because it was before, when Lee was born in 1939, so it was stamped before, when he said how old he was, and it was just right, when he took the book out. It was so cool, or his mother did. So what am I talking about this? Because this book shows how he felt, because this little boy, grew up, every time they went to church at midnight mass, come Carlos, come Yagan, come, but never did they call his name. And so here's Lee going like that, in the book, because he was always left behind. He had to stay in this cow shed, this goat shed, feeding the lambs, and always by himself. Always, he said to the priest, what part of my body, he couldn't see himself, what part of my body is offensive to God and to all of you that I can't go to church? Tell me where it is, and I'll cut it out of my body. So they all went this time to church, at midnight mass, and then when they came out, they saw a great light. Meanwhile, this young boy, he's in this shed, wishing he could go to church, and some other boy comes up and he says, well, you can't see me, but touch my face. So he felt the face, and this boy was his companion. All the church people, when they came out, they saw this great light. They followed it, and it was Christ himself with this boy, this blind boy, celebrating Christmas with him. And then they said, look how wrong we've been. It's we who should be cursed for how we treated this young boy. So what is the story? Lee realized from a young age that no matter what the color of your skin, everybody was important. And so that's one of the things I want to share with you, because you're not going to hear that from anybody else. I got the book. I got the book. I said, it hasn't been checked out for years. Well, when they have books that are unpopular, they put them on the lower shelf, then nobody can see them, and they don't get checked out for more years. I said, if I give you $25, can I have the book? And they said, yes. So I've got it, I've got the book. It means a lot to me. All right, we're going to turn to the next item that's odd. Here it is, Hopalong Cassidy's favorite milk. What in the heck is going on? How many know in the story mainly what Hopalong Cassidy meant to Lee Oswald? Anybody? Well, we have interesting FBI record and all that. They looked up, Oswald is going to the grocery store 3 times a week to buy milk and bread. What's going on? Because he's also taking Marina there 2 or 3 times a week to get milk and groceries and bread. He was feeding me. The one thing we have in common, anybody who knows me, I am a milk lover, and so was Lee. He loved milk and cinnamon buns, hot cinnamon buns, okay? And when he was on a fast, one time he told me that don't worry about him, because he's going to break his fast with, why was he doing fasting? He was testing himself all the time. He was thin not because he was very wiry. He was thin because he was trying out his strength of discipline on himself. He wanted to be a master of himself. And look how well that stood him when they arrested him and tried their best to break him and make him confess, even when he's dying with a bullet in his gut. And they pulled him into a room. Any of these things, that they took him in an ambulance right away? No, they had to pull this armored beast out, and allow the ambulance in. Meanwhile, he's in a room, he was handcuffed, and they're saying, confess now, because you're going to die, boy, you're going to die, son. And he shook his head. So don't believe he was unconscious. Even when they rolled him out, his hand is in a fist. You can't do that when you're unconscious. So don't believe the story that, oh, you know, he never revived. And awful things happened to him in the ambulance. One of the things, you can look at the ticket. The ticket showed, and you can see, we've got the photos in the ambulance, you can see the oxygen tank. And yet he got no oxygen on the way to the hospital, none. And we know they pounded on him supposedly to give him artificial respiration. What they were doing is squeezing the blood as fast as they could into his body so he'd bleed to death. And then, as you know, I heard Dr. Weck say, then they're injecting air into his system. Air embolism will kill you. Were they trying to save Lee Oswald? Did they treat him like others? If you think they did, why is it that when they started rolling him into trauma room 1, they stopped and said, wait a minute, the president died in this room. Pull that goddamn, you know, okay, out. And they did, and put him in trauma room 2. Okay? Precious minutes wasted. Wasted. Here's Hopalong Cassidy with his beautiful white horse. Hopalong wears black. What is going on here? I mean, the good guys are supposed to be wearing white, remember? This is one of Lee's heroes because Hopalong Cassidy was a good guy wearing black, you know, but his horse was white. And then what did Hoppy? He'd go into a bar and he'd order milk to drink, Lee's favorite drink, okay? So here you have Hopalong Cassidy, okay? It says Hoppy's favorite milk, okay? Can you see that on the screen? Can you read it? Okay. Hoppy's favorite milk. What is going on? You will find in the records that when Lee wanted to get attention, like he's going to be passing out flyers or whatever, go into a bar and order milk, and they say, "Are you guys crazy? What's the matter with this guy? He's coming in the bar and ordering milk." You look it up. He did it. That's what Hopalong Cassidy did. Now these are odd little things. Why is Lee taking on these roles? Well, Hoppy wearing black. People thought he was bad. I mean, that was the way the cowboy movies were made. The guy in white was the good guy, and the guy in black was the bad guy. Lee would pretend so often, as you know, that he was the bad guy. Pro Castro handing out those flyers. Okay, that's not nice in New Orleans when you've got people there all filled with anti-Castro, people who want to kill Castro. And here he is. That takes courage, my friends. And that's when we could talk about the Scarlet Pimpernel. But let's look at another picture here of Hopalong Cassidy. He's even older. They loved him. Now we have something different going on. And of course, we're not going to get anything real. See that shirt I'm wearing? Can somebody here tell me what Operation Northwoods was about? But we can go further. What was Operation Mockingbird about? Yeah, William.
It was about telling all the newspapers, like New York Times, Washington Post, anybody who didn't believe the Warren Commission was a conspiracy theorist. Now, I just told Judith a little bit ago, they got
Louder. Yeah.
From the street. This is where you come out of a little field. Is Mockingbird Lane. East Mockingbird Lane is Campese's.
Of course, the guy from Campese's, Joe Campese, you know, he was the first one to visit Jack Ruby in jail. Oh, but he's just there to give him some food, right? Yeah, all right, anyway. But what's the point of what I'm saying? Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, it turns things around. When you see Lee handing out flyers, he's not pro-Castro. He's playing that game. It was a sting. I don't know whether some of you have heard me talk about this before. We gave you some flyers to teach you. How many of you raise your hand to be honest. How many of you read the yellow flyer that was included in your package? Raise your hand if you read it. All right, now, or before. Raise your hand if you did not read that yellow thing that we actually had to print and put in individually into your packet. Raise your hand if you haven't read it. Be honest. All right, then you understand. You should understand that this was a scam that was going on to attract pro-Castro spies. or people who like Castro so much in the city of New Orleans, where it's loaded with anti-Castro people. Why was he doing that? Well, you saw in the play yesterday, he was our protector. He was there to scout out and make sure that Castro, who was sending spies in, they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me, that they can report back and say, we're just going to discredit that group out by Lake Pontchartrain. We're going to say they're a bunch of idiots. You know, we're going to tell on them, we're going to get a raid on that and so on. You know, there are a couple camps out there. Don't believe everything you read in the Warren Commission. A bunch of baloney. I know, it was so easy for me to know when they were lying, and I've used this example before. Here you have Riley Coffee Company, and a so-called witness who knew Lee Oswald. He said, oh yeah, he would lay back there smoking, you know, and just staring at the sky, you know, during the breaks. I used to stop, I said, you liar! Lee didn't smoke. He gave that up years ago so he could be clean CIA, you know, ONI. He gave up his drinking and his smoking so he could be always, but they learned to pretend. Lee would take a bottle of beer, and by the end of the night it would be, you know, they'd think it was many bottles of beer because he'd find a way to pour it out, and he'd pretend to be drunk, and he'd even vomit, pretending he was drunk, and he hadn't had anything to drink. He didn't drink. By the way, Jack Ruby didn't smoke. And by the way, Oxner's wife didn't smoke. We need to talk about Jack Ruby, which Dr. Wick did not mention, this lung cancer. Where did it come from? When Jack Ruby didn't smoke. The only time he smoked, he asked for a smoke, and the police officer, he didn't smoke, is after he shot Lee. And he's desperate to know that Lee died. Because, as David Ferry told me, if he didn't make it, they were going to, he either got that man killed. Either got him killed, or or he would himself be murdered in a terrible way, such a terrible way. And you can go look up what the mafia does to people who don't obey them. Once he found out Lee was dead, he didn't want a cigarette anymore. He was fine. He didn't ever ask for, there are no cigarettes on his records or anything. He didn't smoke. But boy, he got a galloping lung cancer anyway. Oxner's wife didn't smoke. She got a galloping lung cancer herself. Oxner's wife died, and he married a beautiful blonde who was good friends with Richard Nixon. When they wanted to go on a trip for their honeymoon, and she didn't have her passport ready, so she calls Nixon's White House, and they issue a passport so that she and Oxner can go to Greece. Oh my gosh. All right, we're going to go fast. Only 10 minutes left. I did this to myself. I do this to others. So, yeah, that.
She was caught in your
strap. Oh, thank you, thank you. Well, at least it wasn't caught in this strap. Okay, so Cruz. I can't recognize faces very well. This is why Lee took me up close to him and said, this is Raffaello to me before. Don't bother him, don't act like you recognize him, don't get him in trouble. Because this guy came from out of town, nobody knows who he is, so he can't be recognized. And sure enough, all these years, nobody knows who that man was. That's how good they are in doing this scam. So Lee is, he is brought in Cruz. It was him. I had to look at him up close. I'm not supposed to say a word and just pass by to get a good look because I can't remember faces. And Lee was always kind of, I don't mean showing off, but he was young just like me. Look, he says, I got this passport in 24 hours. You know, I am the good guy, but I have to act like I'm not. The Scarlet Pimpernel. We're going to go now and listen to something. Watch this. All right. Donald Trump exposed Ted Cruz's father, Rafael Cruz, as one of history's villains today. That, of course, when you know he was really working on an FBI scam here, a sting, in order to, because these people, why do you think Lee Oswald changed the addresses all the time on his hands-off flyer? Okay, hands-off Cuba. First he's at 544 Camp Street, then he changed it to 4907, then he changed it to a post office address. Why is he changing? Why did they keep it the same? because every time they do this thing and they arrest somebody, they got to change the address because it'll spread. Don't go there, you get arrested. You know, after you visit, 5 minutes later or 2 hours later, you're going to get arrested. They're going to check you over, and if you're a bad guy that they think is a spy, you're going to be deported to Cuba. So that's why changing the address. There are so many things that people don't know, and I want you to come to me, talk to me, ask me questions. I will tell you. If I don't know, I will tell you. All right, now I'm going to go quickly. I want you to hear. Okay, so what do we hit in Wikipedia? I'm going to go here. Oh, here's some pictures. Trust me, it's the same guy. It is. And they can go hang me. I'll never change. Okay, that's what they did then. Is, oh boy, they were both going to kill Kennedy. So they twisted around, you see, because of course Lee's still the bad guy after 50 years and of all the people who know better. All right. Let's go. Can we do the YouTube, please? Because I can't make it go. No, not with my eyes. He can do it much faster. And look how cute he is. I get to be near somebody real cute. My heart is filled with love for you because you've sacrificed to come here. You care. You know, it takes only a little yeast to make a whole loaf rise. That's what Jesus said. You're the yeast. And they can't get rid of you. Once you get that yeast in that bread, you can't get rid of it until you bake it. Until you're dead, they can't stop you. Okay, is it coming? Okay. Now, the Scarlet Pimpernel, some of you tonight, I have to admit that the movie that we asked for, Coup in Camelot, has not come. And here we have so many people filled. The speaker's dinner is filled to the brim. We had to add 20 more seats. That's money. Understand that the meal you're going to get tonight, if you're in that, we don't make any money from that. You can look at the books. We're paying more per ticket than you are for the meal. Because we love you. Okay, you get it? Please make it go. Yeah, please.
In the wake of the Kennedy assassination, the Dallas police, on the one hand, they were committing all of the resources to trying to solve the crime.
But you're moving in the doorway. When you get him in the doorway, all right there.
On the other hand, they were
Remember I said about self-discipline?
Tsunami of reporters.
Well, I was questioned by a judge. However, I protested at that time that I was not allowed legal representation.
In bringing Oswald
How would you
out,
like to
they
be
were, of
surrounded
course, doing
with
something
this?
that you would never see happen today. But they were trying to cooperate with the press with the understanding that there would not be questions shouted at him.
Did you kill the president?
No, I've not been charged with that. In fact, nobody has said that to me yet. The first thing I heard about it was when the newspaper reporters in the hall asked me that question.
You have been. Nobody said
Look at his
Sir?
face.
You have been. Nobody said what? Okay, man. We can't hear you back here. Okay.
What did you do in Russia?
That's the man that killed the president? Do you think so? Come on, look at that face. All right, now we're going to go on to the other one because we don't have much time left. Do you understand? He didn't do it. He didn't do it. And they say he did it to get fame. Does that look like a man who was looking for fame? He knew then how bad it was. He knew he would be accused. He knew he was probably going to die. But what he wasn't ready for was to be accused of killing the very man. Can you imagine? The very person that he has tried to save. The irony. It's all over. Even though he has so much self-control, the irony is all over his face. Okay, let's get the other one now. That's all the time left. I don't want to. Yeah. This Scarlet Pimpernel
Now
doesn't
take time for a very special induction into the League of the Scarlet Pimpernel. The people being inducted today have read one of the great books of the last few centuries. Each of you are now privy
including Lee Oswald,
to a story that has endured for generations. You understand what courage and sacrifice looks like, and what true love and devotion is. I trust that each of you are better human beings and Christian young men and women because of the experience. Now, you must uphold the honor of the League and a very important charge, don't take it lightly, to uphold the secrets of the League and not to divulge them to younger students or people who have yet to read the book. So, in just a moment, we have a symbol of that. We have membership cards. I promise to uphold the honor and the secrets of the League of the Scarlet Pimpernel.
Now, do you understand the power of the Scarlet Pimpernel it had on Lee Oswald? Because the Scarlet Pimpernel would pretend to hate, be right, and loved watching the guillotine go down and cut off heads, and yet he was rescuing them. Lee Oswald posing, he said, the Scarlet Pimpernel would say, he's a highly intelligent man. He's got these devoted people working with him. He's working with this league. It's in secret. And yet, to the outside world, he looks like a very bad man. So Scarlet Pimpernel is saving lives, and yet he looks like the enemy. I'm telling you, he wasn't. He's the most wonderful man if you only knew him. And my life has been spared to tell you. And I'm going to cut this short so other people can speak. But if you want to talk to me in private, come and grab me and say, let's talk for 5 minutes. What is your question? I will tell you the answer. I've kept it all in my heart. God bless you all. Thank you for coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, Judith Very Baker.